Hey everyone, this is Stevie. Welcome back to the home studio. Unfortunately, James will not be able to join us for this YouTube exclusive What Went Wrong video. Why, you ask? We were forced to put him into concussion protocol because on a recent video on his James Romero channel, he called himself Maven.
Hello everybody, Maven here.
So I had to step in, make an executive decision, give him the day off. So get well soon, James. He should be back by next episode, calling me Zach and him Maven. So we'll see if he recovers. So obviously not doing very British things unless very British things are calling yourself another name. So speaking of concussions, by the way, today's What Went Wrong video concerns the recent Smackdown where Jade Cargill got rammed into the steps for real and busted open. But that was not the only thing that went wrong in this three-way match between Jade Cargill, Nia Jax, and Tiffany Stratton. So we're going to take a look at this, take it in stages, and really break it down. And there is a right way to do this when it involves the ring steps. Of course, there's always something that can go wrong, a freak injury, but this here could have been prevented. So let's go to the iPad here and the smartboard before my Philly accent kicks in. Here's Jade. Now, not everything went wrong in this match. There was a lot that went right, but obviously there's things that go wrong and things that really disrupted the flow of the match. This here is not one of those things. There I say, Jade found the camera, you'll see that, and really just started to lean into what happened, get fired up. Maybe it was real because you get busted open, you see your own blood. You get a bit fired up, the adrenaline's pumping, or you just lay there and you're completely out. So let's take a look at this. So here is Jade going for this. Now, I know that this was a planned spot, going for the Samoan drop here and ending up doing it on the stairs. So it was something that there was still some good psychology to go for this, miss it, hit the stairs, and then Samoan drop to Nia Jax, which even if Nia is helping you, it takes a great deal of power and strength, lower body strength, to be able to pick somebody up, even with assistance and cooperation. So here she goes to pick her up. Nia cuts her off. Now here's something right here where Nia has Jade already bent over at an awkward angle. She's going to ram her into the steps. Now, normally what happens here is the person will cut them off, like say with a knee to the stomach or a shot or something, grab them by the hair, if they have hair, and whip them into the steps like they're hitting their head into a turnbuckle. Being this far away with this distance here is usually whipping somebody like an Irish whip or a whip into the corner. They turn and their back hits the stairs. This was somewhere in between, like a hybrid. Also the fact that Nia here, we're going to slow-mo it here, Jade didn't quite have her feet underneath her. She wasn't set, so she was kind of stumbling into the stairs already, which means you cannot measure where you're going to hit on the stairs. So she literally got thrown into the stairs, and my assumption is that her head hit the corner right here, or even this corner, but basically this edge right here. You hit that corner, that's very dangerous, but this edge is very sharp. And you can see when she throws her in, she's still kind of down and stumbling. Maybe she was supposed to be turned in to where her back hits the stairs, but we get something in between. And that's a rough bump right there. And I didn't see any other camera angles at the time. But if you look right here, I'm assuming the top of her head hit right there on the edge of the stairs because she was bleeding pretty much right away here, covering up her head and doing that. Nia, of course, is playing along. And of course, now the spot's going to be to remove this top part. And then Jade, to her credit, ends up picking up Nia. She could have very much been in shock seeing her blood being busted open. And you don't know if it's a deep gash, if it's somewhere here, or requires any kind of plastic surgery outside of stitches. So these are things that kind of like your life flashes before your eyes. And this way, all the injury and all that stuff. But Jade, I got to give her credit, went with everything and continued at least this part of the match. So Nia throws this part of the stairs off here, and you can see Jade is already bleeding a little bit. If you back it up just a little bit, you can see the blood starting to come out right here. And obviously the contrast with the white hair is really going to make the blood, accentuate with that. Of course, they're not trying to shoot it close up. She does find the camera after this, but I don't think they would have, with production say, shoot her close up right there and see the blood and everything. So here's Nia throwing it off here. And the reason why I'm showing this is because there are what went rights to everything. Nia's smart here to buy herself some time for two reasons. Jade is busted open. She's given her time to recover. The only thing I would say, why is this referee not running out to check? There's blood already on both sides of the mat. This referee here, and it's not the first mistake this referee is going to make. She needs to first put on the gloves, get out there and check Jade. Later on, she actually starts cleaning up Jade, but doesn't have the latex gloves that every referee in 2025 carries in case, this is what we call in the business, hard way. She got busted open a hard way. But like I said, as far as what's going on here, it's going right off of what went wrong. So Nia is going to give her the time and then try to suplex her on top. Now the referee is there. Now the referee is very late with this. She doesn't see that Jade's bleeding at this particular point, but she's standing right over the droplets of blood on the mat. And this is really good right here, Jade blocking it. And of course, I love the fact Nia, as big as she is, she put herself in a position where Jade didn't need to squat down from the floor all the way up into the position for the Samoan drop. It's already kind of halfway there. So this is a really well-designed spot in itself, in that vacuum of just this right here. It's a really good spot, especially since she went for it before. She got blocked and then rammed into the stairs, which they go to the stairs after that. So it's very tight with the chronological and psychological order of the spot. So she blocks right here, and she's set up right there for Jade to shoot in and go right for the Samoan drop. And there she is. What I would say here is, I know Nia, you want to put your hand down. You could break your arm. You could dislocate your elbow, separate your shoulder, break the wrist. Just let it go. I know there's not much for you to go into that, and you kind of rolled onto it, but it was still great. Now here, why is I know the referee's going to react. All this blood was right here. You should have been right on top of it, or standing in the ring as they're working on the outside. You at least want to be looking over the top rope to get a closer look at what's going on. So this is the part where Jade, and I don't know if the referee told her to do this, there she is. That's right there. And then I guess we got to kind of maybe blur it out or whatever. This right here is pretty much, it made Jade Cargill. She made the most out of it. I mean, I'm assuming she's cut right over the eye here. It doesn't look like it's up here in the forehead area. So it's definitely something, and right at the eyebrow, maybe under the eyebrow, the eyelid. It's a tough spot to get busted open. But back in the day, you know what Terry Funk used to do? Take that knuckle, hit the eyebrow, because he tried to do it to me on a couple of house shows, and I said, no, I'll do the blade. He was trying to hard way me right on this soft part of the eyebrow. So maybe that's what happened, and it's a very minimal cut, but it doesn't look good. It looks like the cut is right here. That's a pretty good gash right there. But her going and finding the camera to like literally fire up, that's a Becky Lynch type moment where Becky got busted open by Nia, of course. Seems to be a repeating thing, but I really think this was just an accident. It was not intentional, but Nia seems to be at the forefront from time to time in injuring people. Will Jade be as big of a star as Becky Lynch? I hope so. She's got everything else. This here could be that part that propels Jade up into a higher part in the women's division. So we have this really being fired up, really being fired up. Now here comes the referee around to finally take a look at Jade. And does she put the gloves on? I could be wrong. She's doing something. No, she just grabs a towel right here, and she's She's barehanded. She doesn't have latex gloves on. You see that? So that's a huge mistake right there, to not wear the gloves, to protect the referee, for the referee to protect herself in this. She could be panicked or whatever, but the referee needs to be prepared for anything and everything that could happen. I think she just feels very disconnected from this, and now she's overly attentive to Jade, but forgetting right away to put those gloves on. Like when she saw the blood droplets on the floor, on the mat, put those gloves on right away. And I'm sure the office probably said something to her right there. All right, so here's the next part of the what went wrong. Jade Cargill, still giving her credit for fighting through and finishing the match, comes in the pin Nia. 1, 2. Here comes Tiffany Stratton way too late with the save. So it plays into the next pin right here where Tiffany gets on Nia with the pin, because it was supposed to be breaking up the pin, but Nia knew that Tiffany was late, kicked out. Tiffany still threw the drop kick to kick Jade off of Nia. But now the referee, once again, it's more about the referee with the what went wrong with this continually in this. So as Tiffany goes for the cover, 1, 2, right there. I don't understand this. And then we get a lot of communication. So right here, the amount of time that this referee waited and paused right here. My beard grew a little bit from her pausing off of that. Now what we have right here is, and this happens a lot now, clear communication right here between Nia and the referee. And the referee looks like she's very, like she knows she messed up and has that look like she's completely worried about getting heat from Nia, from Tiffany, from Jade, and from the office, which is understandable. Still talking right here, talking to Tiffany. And as Tiffany's here, the referee comes over and calls the finish. And visibly looks like she's, she knows she messed up. That's the thing you have to say right there. You have to cover up the mistakes, not make them look like mistakes, and make it look like I meant to do that type thing. But here's Tiffany dropping an elbow just to put Nia in place. That's a pretty stiff elbow, by the way. And here's the finish, as the referee is still talking to Nia as well. Right here, still talking to her, and the finish is happening. And Tiffany, with the prettiest moonsault ever, it's perfect. And she gets the cover. 1, 2, 3. So lots of stuff here. This is live TV, but everybody, especially the referee, it's a what went wrong concerning that that spot in the corner on the stairs. Obviously, that's an accident, but we're talking about how many times with Nia Jax involved with this on the older Wrestling Analysis channel. That was like the most viewed video of the What Went Wrong series, or the What Went Wrong playlist, was Nia Jax. She gets better, regresses a couple steps, gets a little better, regresses again, when she's just starting to find where she can find, say, her 5 moves of doom and be safe. Something like this always seems to occur. But I put this more on the referee, which we talked about referees on a recent clip here on the Stevie Richards show, and how important. They're not the third man or the third woman, or in this case, the fourth woman. They are the first. They are the middleman or middle woman, in this case, the hub of communication. Now, obviously, there was communication at the end, but obviously the camera picked it up. So there we go with that. I hope Jade's doing better. I hope she recovers. I hope this doesn't cause any sort of further plastic surgery or anything like that with these cuts, with that. But definitely WWE should lean into this. This could be a Becky Lynch turning point for Jade Cargill, with busted open and literally looking in the camera and getting fired up. So as long as her work still progresses and she has that look, we talked about that before, this can really be a moment, like I said, that could propel her to stay at the top of the women's division. Nia, man, it's building a case for, maybe not intentionally, but how many people is she going to hurt? She definitely needs to get consistently better. Tiffany's getting consistently better. The referee needs to look at this. Everybody needs to improve to some point, but a lot of this stuff with the referee in a very stressful situation she failed 2 times, maybe 3 if you count not even acknowledging or recognizing that Jade was bleeding, then not putting the latex gloves on, then dabbing the blood off of Jade or trying to clean it up without the latex gloves. And then what we always talked about from day 1 of wrestling school, you count the 3, referee. If I don't kick out, if my opponent doesn't kick out, it's our fault, not yours. But in this case, it is the referee's fault and Nia's because she did not kick out or the save happened before. So many little things. And like I said before, there needs to be the ability in this way to not just wrestle by numbers. It needs to be audibles. It needs to be self-awareness, ring awareness, awareness all around you, and act accordingly. Not say, well, we got to get to the next spot. We got to get to the next spot. And if this little thing goes wrong, everything just goes to crap. That's kind of what happened here. And thank God it didn't propel into further injury or further just mess ups and what went wrong. So thank you so much for watching this clip. Jade and James are probably both in concussion protocol, and we will have updates on both of them on the upcoming full episode of the Stevie Richards Show. Thank you so much for watching this video.